from the Gregory Home Team right here, because we home like 10 minutes down the road. And we also have Brindley Tucker from Florida. Okay. I need to work on my life. Yeah, come on up here. Come on up, guys. I'm going to actually tell you a little bit more about them other than their names, I promise. So I am going to read what's on here, but then I'm going to tell you guys a little something personally about them that I would like to share here. Don't worry, I won't share anything embarrassing. Okay. Number one, I'm going to start with Sherry Gregory. So Sherry Gregory is the owner, principal broker of the Gregory Home Team, powered by Place at Keller Williams Realty Mid-Willamette. In 1996, Sherry began her career as a realtor. 1996, she has seen some stuff. Her deep commitment to taking care of her clients is the foundation upon which the entire Gregory Home Team was built. With production increasing and the systems that Keller Williams provides, Sherry went from a single agent to a full-service team with divisions of specialists. It is important to Sherry that her team is very learning and education-based. She ensures that her team members continue to mentor, train, and be coached to receive the best and most up-to-date knowledge of negotiation, client service, market awareness, and innovative technology to provide the best service to her clients. Sherry's experiences range from real estate sales, property development, and investing. And when Sherry is not working, she enjoys spending time with her granddaughter and traveling. So I want to tell you guys a little something about Sherry. So Sherry and I have known each other for, gosh, probably about 11 years? Probably about 11 years, yeah. And when we talk on stage about when, Luis said earlier, he said, having these relationships doesn't matter what brokerage you're at. You might have friends all across the board. Sherry has been, for me, okay, when I got into real estate, I was just a little baby Yoda. I just didn't know a whole lot. And Sherry was always there to take me under her wing. She is a massive producing agent in our area. She's like in the top 3, right? Top 3 agents in our WBMLS. And you guys, she never made me feel like lesser than, right? Sherry has always been there to have lunches with me. She's been there to just bounce ideas off of. She's been there to just be supportive and never ask anything in return. And so I just want to give a shout out to Sherry because she literally lives what we're talking about up here, and I love her to death for that. So thank you. All right, you guys, and then there's Brindley. I haven't known Brindley for 11 years, but I have known her for probably about 6 or 7 years. Yeah, at least 6 or 7 years. So Brindley Tucker unifies, actually let me back up just a little bit. She is the CEO of Your Leverage Realty, which you guys, we are going to talk, I'm actually going to talk about that as well, because I want to make sure you guys know about this company. It's not a company that I think a lot of people are even aware of that exists out there. And a lot of this conversation here that peaked, some of the conversation that peeked through the discussion was about leverage, right? And she is going to talk a lot about that. So, Brindley Tucker unifies teams and helps agents increase leverage in their businesses. She is a licensed realtor and the owner of Your Realty Leverage, a recruiting, training, and coaching firm. Throughout her career, she has served in an operations capacity with several industries from Wall Street to real estate. Brindley previously owned a successful real estate marketing and transaction management company where she closed over 2,000 real estate transactions. This expertise, coupled with her experience as a former real estate operations coach for MAPS Coaching, now allows her to share her knowledge by assisting agents, brokers, and industry leaders to attract and retain top talent for their teams and offices. She helps bridge the gap between operations and sales through recruiting, training, coaching, and consulting the top real estate teams in the country. You guys, she flew all the way from Florida to be here and share with you guys today. So let's give both of these guys a huge round of applause. So the one thing I'm going to tell you guys about Brindley, and I told you I would not embarrass you, and I will stay to that promise. But Brindley is probably one of the most sincere, authentic people you will ever meet in your lifetime. She will share with you her life story. She will share with you her career story. She will share with you her ups, her downs, and everything in between. And she has nothing to hide, right? Like, she doesn't try to be somebody that she's not, and I love that about her. She just shows up very real, and you guys are gonna see that today on stage. So, with that, let's get started. Okay, very first question for you guys. Let's start talking about, actually I'm gonna backtrack to what the other panel was talking about. You guys have both been in this career a very long time. How do you guys avoid burnout? Because that is something I think that is very real in our industry.
Let's use a mic here.
No, I just want you to.
I mean, I can yell. Listen, I'm loud. I recently shot a video and watched it back, and I called my leadership and I went, "Am I really that loud? I seriously can't hear myself talk." And they go, "Yeah, you should probably get that checked out." So I can cut that.
Go ahead.
There you go. Here you go. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, that's a great question. I do tend to be a workaholic. I wish I could say differently, but I still have great passion for what I do, so it doesn't feel like work for me, so it's hard for me to let go. However, yes, you still can have some kind of burnout, and one of the things I realized is that you have to celebrate wins still. So I think what happens is you're so in it and you're so excited, and you care about your clients and you see what happens, and you're still trying to climb this mountain, right? But you never ever get to the mountain, to the top of the mountain. And so you have to step back and enjoy the journey, make sure the journey is a lot of it, right? And the other part is making sure you take and just celebrate some wins. So I would say that's been one of the biggest things for me as far as helping avoid burnout. Yeah.
So I'm a little bit of a tactical, strategic individual, and so I like to give the tactical, real life applications. So something we did in our organization recently is everyone from myself to our virtual partners, because we have 19 of them in 4 different countries, are required to take a 3-day weekend every month if they're hitting goals. So if they're hitting their goals, they get a paid 3-day weekend every month. And then my leadership is required to take a 5-day every quarter. And what this has done is it's eliminated burnout, right? We have to get ahead of it. And as leaders, for those of us that are leading others, and leading is yourself first, right? You can't lead anyone else until you lead yourself. So when I say leader, if you're a single agent in the room, I'm talking about you, right? And someone mentioned time blocking earlier. I believe that time blocking is the #1 tool in your tool belt as an entrepreneur. I've studied some of the most highly successful individuals in business. I'm being coached personally by Tony Robbins this year. Do I know who Tony is? Yeah. And every single one of them is a master of their minutes. And they're highly time blocking the time they get up in the morning to the time they are in the afternoon, because your #1 job as the CEO of your business is to protect your time. Because time is the only commodity that we can't buy more of. And so burnout can be avoided by making sure that you're mastering your time. And your kids do deserve to know your name. And your wife and husbands and partners do deserve to know what you look like, right? I don't ever think that they should be the priority. And I think that by planning and executing and preparing, I always say by failing to prepare, you're preparing to fail. It's all in preparation, right? It's all in how you plan out your schedule daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annually.
I love that. I totally am stealing that. It might become my new hashtag, master of your minutes. I love that.
You can get a heck of a lot done in 60 seconds if you start mastering your minutes. It's pretty phenomenal.
Just start small. Start small. 1 minute, 2 minutes. Master that time. I love that. Okay, I just wrote down my nugget. So let's start with this. What is the biggest mistake that agents make with, here's the taboo topic, their finances?
Say that again for me.
What is the biggest mistake that agents make with their finances?
Not knowing their numbers.
Yeah, they don't look at them.
They don't know, you always like that, what is it, the shiny object syndrome, Chelsea and my team always tell me, don't look. Because we all fall into it, right? There is no secret sauce. I mean, real estate is simple, but it's not easy. And so it still takes hard work. And so it's one of the things I think, you had said to me, what do you wish you would have done earlier? And a lot of that it would have been mastering taxes, or learning or being a student of taxes, knowing my numbers, so making sure I had a business plan, and also making sure that, profit first. So, and not gross profit, guys, it's net profit, right? So everybody should understand where they're at all times, know your expenses. Cause it's like, yeah, I'm getting a 70% split, but I'm spending, 68% on all my expenses, so 2% is what I make, right? It can happen more times than not. I sit down with agents and they just don't realize how much they're really spending. And so, super important.
So build on that comment just a little bit. What is the target percentage of profit a real estate agent or company should have?
Ideally, if you're an agent on a team, you should be at least at like 45%. You should have next to no expenses. And that's probably even a little high, maybe 48. I was gonna say that if you're a team, you wanna see around 30% is good. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, so I just started teaching Profit First, and Andrea knows I'm gonna go a little in here because I'm really passionate about this subject. I was raised by a single mom who taught me how to live poor better than she taught me how to live rich. You give me $1,000 and I can eat ramen and mac and cheese for 3 months. You give me $10,000, it'll be tomorrow. It'll be gone tomorrow. I drive a Mercedes, I have diamonds, I carry a Louis. I'm not afraid to say it, right? I like to spend money. I work hard and I like to spend money. And this is why I shouldn't be in charge of finances. It's the truth, right? And I think that we don't have this conversation enough. There's a book called Secrets of a Millionaire Mind, and it talks about wealth files. And in that book, he tells a story about a guy that was netting close to $1 million each year, and it was gone every month. There was no money. He was broke. And when they started diving in and really dissecting the psychology, that's another great book, The Psychology of Money, and you should read that one. And they started dissecting, what they found out was his mother had raised him to believe that rich people were greedy. So if he had that money in the bank, he was greedy. And so the programming, and that's that I'm a master practitioner in neuro-linguistic programming. If you want to hear more about my personal story, if you have anyone that is in active recovery or addiction, there's a podcast called The One Thing. You can Google it. My story is episode 78. And the woman that stands before you today is not the same woman 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I had the credit of a homeless person. I hit rock bottom. I was homeless. I was living on a bike, and I had a laptop that I would strap to that bike every day, and that's how I built my first company. And the reason I share that with you is not to say, I'm amazing. No, it's to say that I had to go on a journey of learning how to be responsible with money. And what I learned is that I get to keep money when I learn to respect it. And I had to become fully self-sufficient. And I had to become fully self-evident with my finances. And I had to get real with myself and say, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to say that my mom did the best that she could with what she had, but she didn't teach me. That same mother was the #1 institutional sales broker for Raymond James. And New York was her entire territory. And she, at the height of her career, probably had $5.5 million in retirement, and now she lives in an apartment above my garage. All because no one taught her how to invest. No one taught her about the IRS. No one taught her about all of these things. And I get emotional when I talk about this topic because it's one of the epidemics in our industry. And we have such an ability to make an unlimited amount of cash. And yet, because we don't educate enough around how to sustain and build wealth, and we don't get out of our own way, right? We wake up one day and we're like, I'm grinding and I'm not making any money. Or where's all the cash, right? And I'm learning with Tony that the cycles of a business, when you're in that infant to young adult stage, cash flow is a challenge. And you gotta know what cash flow is. Andrea mentioned a book earlier, The Road Less Stupid. Keith Cunningham wrote that book. He is one of my spirit animals. I got to hear him speak live 3 months ago at our financial trip, and he talks about it. He's like, until you start looking at it, it's not gonna grow. What you measure improves, period. So if you're not looking at it, it's not going to improve. And what happens is a lot of us commingle funds in the beginning. We have one business account. As long as there's cash in it and it's going to pay the mortgage and the car payment, we're good. Oh, and I can go to a beer on a Friday night, right? That's not how you operate a business. From day one, you should have 2 separate bank accounts, 2 separate credit cards. And you should run that business card only if you would run it if you were the CEO of Apple. If you were the CEO of Apple, would you be able to run that business card for that expense and tell your boss at Apple and the board that you charged that dinner to that card? And you have to start thinking like a CEO. And I'm not saying you can't move money in the beginning. Yes, you're gonna have to move cash, but go ahead and set up the structure now because it's easier to scale as you get bigger. And again, what you focus on improves. And so this year, I got out of the way. I went to my COO. I said, I got honest. I said, here's what the cash flow situation is. I said, you're probably gonna have a heart attack every week that payroll's due, because our payroll is high, and that's what keeps me up at night, because we're cash poor right now, but we have money in the bank, we have reserves, we have all of this, but I had to get honest with another human that I trusted and say, I'm not good at this. And so I need you to do it. We're gonna hire a really bad, you know what, fractional CFO. You'll work with him and his team, and we'll be good. And we hired a VA to do all of our bookkeeping and our accounting and our weekly attachments, and I handed it, and I'm done now. I'm done. And I'm actually gonna make more money by letting someone else look at it than me. Because that's not where my ROI on my time for the company is, because I'm clearly, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, we have VAs, we pay for VAs. Like, I had one VA, I just shipped a body across the entire country of the Philippines because they couldn't afford it for the funeral. So I will give away money like crazy. Like, you need money and all the puppies need money, I'll give you all the money. So you just have to, it's okay.
Yes funds, right?
Yeah, and it's okay to say, I suck at this. It's okay to say that. Because we should be constant learners anyway. I've been doing this for 10 years and I had my notebook out on that first panel. And there's always something to learn, and we just have to get real about it. And money is something that we either stick our heads in the sand and we don't talk about it, or we just say, can't squeeze blood out of a turnip, right? That's the old saying. So we just have to get real about it.
So talk a little bit more about these numbers, right? So we're talking about profit, net profit, we're talking about, well, first of all, are you good at the finances or not? Know what your strengths and weaknesses are, but let's talk about these numbers. What numbers should you know?
Yeah, so let me back up for a minute on the profitability. So profit should be treated like an expense, just like a line item in your P&L.
Amen.
It should be treated like an expense. So in the beginning, if you're sitting there going, I looked at my bank account this morning and it's negative $2,500, how am I ever gonna have profit? Start with $1. Just start somewhere. Just say, I wanna make $1 in profit this quarter. It may sound silly, guys, but we're triggering your neurology to start focusing on there being leftovers. That number will grow over time. Just start somewhere, right? Start with 1% and set that as the goal, put it as a line item, and then guess what? Figure out an expense to cut so that you can make that 1%. Because there is something in your business you can cut. A lot of things that we do wow ourselves, not our customers. They don't even know that we're doing it. Or that you said earlier, right? We do this every day, they have no idea. A lot of things, I go through people's listing checklists and I'm like, why are you doing that? Well, it's really cool for the client. They don't care. They just want the most money for their home and to close on time. Why are you wrapping ribbons around their houses? Like, you know what I mean? Like, so there are things that we do that can increase your profit, right? I mean, it's true. Sherry is sharing numbers that are ideal. I don't believe sometimes those numbers are naturally realistic. I say start small and then set your goals incrementally. The long game being that you want to achieve those percentages. The old school model is that it's 30% for expenses, 40% for profit, and 30% for cost of goods sold. And you can do all sorts of formulas, but really it depends on your business, your price point, your volume, your transactions count, the admin you're handling, and everything that your business entails. So I don't think it's a run-of-the-mill number. In real business, 20 to 25% is a strong margin, right? So don't be scared by the numbers, just start.
Because when you think about other industries, real estate is actually one of the largest, if not the largest, profit margin for an industry that there is. When you look at the food industry or the clothing industry or things like that, their profit margins are incredibly small, like 5%. I mean, it's a really low number. Some are even 2%, right? Like, it's a really small profit margin. So let's go back to this question about if you guys are thinking about your business as a CEO, right? You're putting yourself in that role. What are the numbers that they should be paying attention to in their business on a regular basis, would you say?
You really need to be making sure that you're looking at your, cost of sales, right? So you're gonna wanna look at cost of sales. You're gonna wanna look at, depending on if you're an individual agent, expenses. Look to see where your money's going and make sure that you've earned the right to have that expense, right? So, lead with revenue. Make sure that whenever you guys are looking at something, you better be getting a return on that expense. Otherwise, it's not worth it.
How much of a return?
Well, they I say 7 to 10 times. Some people are okay as long as it gets a 3 time return. You know, they say if I'm gonna spend $1,000, I better be making 3 times that every month, you know, to make it worth it. I know that, you know, some people, you guys were talking about the Z word earlier. A lot of agents were, you know, using that for their primary lead source. And it was easy, right? But then we realized that they're out there trying to compete with us, you know, and if we wanna keep our positions and, you know, with our charisma, what we're doing, we don't wanna be feeding them. So there's other ways of doing that, that you can still be more cost effective, and actually be more profitable.
How many of you guys have heard from someone at some point in time in your career, well, you only need to do 1 sale to make your money back, or to cover the cost, right? And you're okay with that. You're like, oh, I just need 1 sale to cover that. But you guys, what is the point? What's the point of doing 1 sale and just covering the cost of it? The point of putting money into something is holding it accountable to make you more money, right? So the 7 to, what did you think, 7 to 8 times, 7 to 10 times?
7 to 10, but, so,
Can we get real? Yeah. So one of my core values is honesty, and it doesn't make me, I'm not selling ice cream, so not everybody always likes me because of it. And I think it's important because honesty is where the truth comes out. And the truth, it hurts, but it also sets you free, right? I do not care how much you do in volume. That is the ego goal that we brag about because it's the biggest number. The most important number is your profit margin. The second most important number is your revenue, which is your GCI. And the third most important number is the number of transactions that you do per year, because that is going to dictate what your support staff needs to look like. Your agents will come and go. Your support staff is your nucleus. It is your solid. The gentleman earlier talked about his assistant. Sherry has her right hand here. Your admin is literally your lifeblood. You do everything when you find a good one to keep one. Your agents will come and go. Your admin are solid. And so when you talk volume doesn't really mean anything. Volume is an ego goal. It's what I call it, right? When you talk business, you talk top line revenue, which is GCI, and you talk profitability, period. That makes you a business owner. You have to be measuring everything though. If you want a predictable business, the story is in the numbers. And you can literally do a math equation for every single thing in real estate. And you can get your business down to a point where you know exactly how many people you need to talk to a day, how many appointments you need, how many buyers you need in the pipeline, how many listings you need active at all times to make and net a certain amount of money. I have a spreadsheet. You can email me, I'll send it to you. It's easy. The challenge is this thing right here. Your head will have you dead, right? Because anytime the brain senses fear, right, or uncomfortability, or a negative emotion, it does one of 5 things. It fights, flights, freezes, or pleases, right? We all do all 4, but typically we lean towards 1. My high D's in the room, you're probably fighters. My high S's in the room, you're probably pleasers, right? And so we look for exits. So the minute our brain doesn't want to do something or it's uncomfortable, i.e. money, lead gen, I mean, I'm sorry, but who wants to be rejected for 3 hours every day? I don't jump out of bed saying, let's go do that, right? There's always one freak in the room though, right, that loves it. But most of us don't do that. So our brains start looking for exits. Where can I go? Oh, well, I can go work on this transaction or call this inspector or go put out this fire and I can be productive. But don't mistake busyness for business. You gotta have things in place to shut the exit doors, because all your brain's doing is trying to protect you from trauma that you experienced before the age of 10, and your little saboteurs are going, well, how are we gonna protect her if she does all that business? She barely can see our family now. What is she gonna do if she goes 3 times the amount of business? How are we gonna protect her? We can't do it. And your unconscious mind starts doing these stories and you don't even know consciously that you're doing it. So you've got to take time to sit down and ask yourself, what are my saboteurs? If you go to a website called positiveintelligence.com, it's called positiveintelligence.com, click on saboteurs. I am a geek, I own a recruiting company, I know every assessment under the moon, and every single one of them will tell me how I think and behave, and I'm like, thank you. Been in here for 42 years, pretty sure I know how I think and behave. But they would never tell me why. This one tells you why. It gives you your 9 self-saboteurs, from pleaser, hyperachiever, rational, controller, and if you go into each one, it tells you at the bottom what the original survival function was. So for instance, if you were a pleaser, you may have grown up in a home where dad came home from work, mom dropped everything, started the dinner, put the dinner on the table, and the whole family turned to dad to please him for the next 4 hours before we all went to bed. So you were programmed to think that love comes through pleasing. If I please them, they will love me. Well, that was a great survival function at 10, but I don't really need that at 42. Hasn't helped my dating life very much, that's for sure. So again, it's not about exactly what you look at, it's just starting to look at the numbers. And those are the numbers I would start with: profit margin, GCI, and number of transactions. Because the gentleman said it, when you're gonna start hitting 25 consistently, you should start looking for an admin. When you're gonna start hitting 50, start looking for your second. Every 25 transactions, you should start looking for your next admin. Because by the time you find them and onboard them, you will have enough business for them. And you're all in real estate because you make stuff happen. You'll figure out a way to feed them. You will. Sorry, I know I'm not in, I just get super passionate about this.
I love it. This is such good stuff. I want to stay in the numbers for a few more minutes here. Sherry, how many units did your team sell in the last year-ish?
I think I personally did 112 myself, and then I think our team did 180, 170, something like that.
Okay. And I want to ask this from two different perspectives, right? From a team owner, agent, and from an operations role. When someone is trying to break through a ceiling, right? And let's say they're doing 12 transactions and they want to get to 24, 36, 50, whatever that number is, what would be some advice that you would give someone trying to break through that ceiling?
Well, they need to sit down and have a business plan, right? Remember the spreadsheet Brindley said she'd share with all of you guys? That's what you want to do. You plug it in, it's going to tell you how many people do I need to talk to daily? How many appointments do I need to set every week? Do we set that up with all of our agents and sit down so that they are very purposeful about what needs to happen in order for them to meet their goals? So if you want to do 36, it's very doable.
I mean, the first thing I would do is, what does my day look like? Where am I spending my time? If somebody is trying to get from 12 to 36 transactions, the first thing I'm going to ask them is to show me their calendar. Because I can fix it with just that. Because it's easy. There's 5 things that a real estate agent should do every single day before they do anything else. And that's lead generation, lead follow-up, going on appointments, negotiating contracts, and scripts and role play. And if you're not doing those 5 things every day, you'll never break through the ceiling that you want to break through, because what that means is you're not building the habits that you need to build a scalable, long-term, sustainable real estate business. That is your foundation. And it's much easier to build those habits at 12 transactions than it is 170. Because at that point, you're having to coach and lead other people into building those habits. And we all want to be in integrity as leaders. We never want to expect our teams to do things that we wouldn't be willing or haven't been willing to do ourselves. And so we have to focus on those 5 things, and that's what I would say. And when we talk about, I don't know if you're going to ask a question about where I think the market is headed, this is crucial where we're going. You have got to fall in love with lead generation. And I don't care what your lead gen is. Find your lever that you love. They talked about Sphere. Some like networking. I've got one guy that does client events because he just loves client events and he has a huge community. You know, I've got other people that love 55 plus and they go to potluck dinners every week. Find out what you want your niche to be and just go be their economist of choice, period.
What would be the biggest mistake that you see agents making that are hiring their first assistant or at that place where they feel like they really need to bring that leverage in?
Oh, Andrea. You love horses. I love horses. We should get in business together and we're going to take over the world. That's exactly what happens. Exactly. You guys are the ones that are laughing in the room are the ones that have probably done this, right? And listen, is this being recorded? I said last week, I go, how come every time I add another human to my organization, the more WTFs there are in my head, right? Humans are hard to manage. We are, and you're looking at the hardest one in our organization to manage. My people tell me to get out every day because I just come in and screw everything up because I'm the visionary with a false sense of urgency that thinks everything should take 5 minutes, right? Okay, stop talking. Do you feel seen? Do you feel seen? Right? Do you feel seen? And so we've got to be slow to hire, quick to fire. And, you know, my coach told me last week in our organization, we had a really beautiful morning this morning on our stand-up because we blessed 2 individuals that have helped me build our company. And we blessed them on new opportunities because I've always said that I want a personal development company that happens to sell fractional services to real estate agents and business owners. And so we pour into our people, and sometimes that means they don't stay in real estate. One's going to paint furniture, and the other one doesn't know what she's gonna do. She's gonna go take a month off. She was 100 pounds heavier and in a toxic relationship with a drug addict when she came to work for us. She's 100 pounds lighter and divorced now. And I will take that any day of the week. And so you gotta take the time, and that was the hardest thing for me to learn. In the beginning, there are a lot of people out there that will tell you I'm a monster, because I was. I was not a good boss. I was not a good leader. I was not a good manager. I thought you should just come in, I pay you, and you do what I say, and if you don't do it, it's okay if I yell at you. And that's not okay. People don't work that way, right? Yet, leadership requires mastery like everything else. You can be born with leadership tendencies, but mastery requires 10,000 hours of doing something. And the only way that you're going to become a better leader is by leading. And now we have talent coming into our world. We just hired a woman to be our new VP of Talent Acquisition. She starts tomorrow. Dude, this woman has taken like 3 startups from 2 million to 15 million in less than 18 months, knows more than I know, and I'm like, how the heck am I going to lead this chick? Like, I'm going to show up, like, I can't, you know? And that's what it should be about. Your talent should be scaring you, right? You should hire someone that is better at admin than you, because when it's done by you, it's stressful, it's reactive, the client feels it, right? We don't need another me in the organization. I am clearly enough, right? If you've not figured that out in the last 15 minutes. Yet, I have to have people that are better at the things that I'm not. I've got to keep everybody in their gift zone so I can stay in my gift zone, which is right here. Does that make sense? I'm right here because I've hired amazing talent that's running our organization and taking care of our clients, because that's what they're good at. They would throw up and poop their pants if I told them they had to do this right now, right? They're like, no, you go, whatever you need, right? So I think it's being slow to hire, quick to fire, yet it's also being able to recognize talent and move quickly if it falls in your lap. Because the VP of Talent Acquisition we just found, her resume came across my desk a week and a half ago. We had run an assessment on her. I looked at all the track record, I looked at the resumes, I got on the call with her, had a 30-minute conversation, said, you're gonna talk to my coach, my 5 leaders, and I'll be ready to make offer by next Friday. So you gotta know when the right time to go fast is and when the right time to go slow is. And you typically don't go fast until you've made a lot of mistakes going fast, because that is a learned talent to be able to go fast. So I would say go slow, be slow to hire, quick to fire, and I don't care if you're doing 2 transactions or 20, start looking now. And if you're not using an independent TC to do your transactions, start. I need to learn it. No, you don't. Nothing after you go under contract makes you money as an agent. Makes me money, I own a TC company. Does not make you money. It lowers your hourly rate if you're doing anything after that goes under contract, even if you're a new agent. It's $400, it's like Monopoly money, you don't even see it, it comes out of your check at closing, and it's the cheapest leverage that you can get. And there's tons of them now. I coach half of them, and I've helped half of them build their businesses. So we can find someone that works for your personality. You don't have to use us. You can, shameless plug, but you don't have to, right? Just use somebody. Any type of leverage is good leverage.
Okay, so this question is for both of you. When you're hiring your first assistant, how do you stay in production and bring on your assistant and get them trained? That I know it seems overwhelming for people. They're like, but I'm gonna go out of business because I'm spending my time trying to train my first assistant. How do you stay in production and bring on an assistant?
Well, I think when I hired my first assistant, they just shadowed me. I didn't really do a whole lot of training. They just sat next to me and they watched me. So if I went on a listing, they went on a listing. If I was, going to a closing, I typically even had them just go everywhere with me so they could see my daily activities and understand how I operate, and then figure out where the gaps were that I was needing help at. So, yeah.
So we know this role a little bit because we do have a training division, and we help train all sorts of positions inside brokerages and businesses for their first 90 days. And if you're gonna do your own training and not choose to leverage it, go back to the 5 things. Which one makes you the most money the fastest? Lead gen. So what do they need to know to support you in lead gen? They need to know how to enter contacts in your database, know how to schedule your follow-ups, and get you that system taken care of, right? Then you go to lead follow-up. What do they need to do to support your lead follow-up? Then you go to appointments. What do they need to do to support your appointments? Then you go to negotiation paperwork. What do they need? And if you stair step it that way, each stage of the process will teach them what they need to know to go to the next one. By the time you're starting to train them on how to set up your appointments and communicate with a client, they already know your CRM. They already know the process from first introduction to the appointment because they've already done that whole process. Don't overcomplicate it in your mind, because if you hire the right talent, they will be telling you how to train them. And that's what it's about. And I will say, the days of a $12 to $15 an hour admin are starting at 30 to 40 are gone. If you do have that, God bless you, hold on to them. It is a rarity. It is a 1%. The starting entry level for a basic admin in any market, and I don't care if you're in a small town or a big city, you're going 3 times what I'm about to say, is $50K. And then supplementing through profit bonuses. Don't pay per transactions, don't pay things that they don't have direct bonus tied to. They are there to help you grow. We know this guy, some of you might know him, his name's Ben Kinney. And I have the pleasure of, I spent some of my summer up with his first EA, Jolene Snell. She's been with him for 17 years. And it was just, when it was just the 2 of them, he literally put the number 60, I believe it was, on a board and said, if we don't sell this many homes, I can't pay you. And he would legit, every time he would go under contract, he would come in and cross it out and put 59. And it was right in front of her. So she was just as bought into that 60 as he was. And now she's the highest paid individual in his companies. And if I told you how much she made, you would literally fall on the floor, right? So this is your business partner. They are not your workhorse, they are not your, I don't even like the word assistant. We don't even call our VAs because I think it's demeaning. We call them partners, right? They are just like us, they just happen to live in a different country and they're cheaper labor, right? They're still humans, they're still some of the best people in our organization. So you have to start looking at it like, this is gonna be your partner. You're gonna handle sales, they're gonna handle operations. And you can't do either one without the other. Does that make sense?
Well, and I do want to say though, Brindley did hire one of my Sandy, right? And she's been with us for how long? 8 years?
Long
Isn't that
time,
long?
yeah.
And so I can say that, we did leverage that, and it was one of the best decisions we made. So I can tell you, if you guys are looking for that, because as far as training goes, she actually did the training for us. So when Sandy, already had a lot of experience, stepping into the role, because we knew you either have time or money, right? And at that time in our business, we didn't have the time to do the training, and so we were able to leverage that part out, and Brindley did an amazing job with it.
Well, thank you. And that's always been my vision. I do believe the single agent is at risk. I love teams. I coach some of the top teams in the country. They're a lot of my bread and butter. And I know teams aren't for everyone. And I wanted to create a space where we can provide any type of leverage for an agent or business owner that they can get at any time. So we do the temporary side when you're starting off, and then when you're ready for that permanent hire, we move you over to recruiting and help you get that done. That's all great, but what's most important is starting to think about leverage now. Even if you don't have money in the bank, there's lots of ways that you can leverage. If you're cleaning your own house and mowing your own lawn, if those things give you joy, because there's always, again, one freak in the room, right? If it gives you joy, then keep doing it. Most of us, cleaning our toilets does not give us joy, right? And I hear people all the time say, well, if I do it, it's free. No, it's not. There is an hourly rate on your time, and that's where it has to start. And if you're doing anything that you could pay someone cheaper than your hourly rate to do, then you need to go find that person and do it. Even if you're only going to make a 25-cent return, you're still building the leverage to get there. Does that make sense?
Do you have the calculation for figuring out that dollar per hour?
Easy. Take your monthly income and divide it by 160 hours. If you want to do quick math. My high C's in the room, you can go download 3 months of bank statements. But easy math is typically you're working about 40 hours a week, 160 hours a month. Take your monthly net, went into your bank account, not your GCI. Cash money in the bank. Average monthly divided by 160. Now, most of you are not working 40 hours a week. Most of you are working 60 or 70, so you could also do that math as well.
All right, next question. What system in your business has made the biggest impact? I'm gonna ask this another way as well. What is the single best thing you did to elevate your business from average to extraordinary? It's kind of the same question, just asked two different ways.
So I would say having a CRM, having a great system that you're willing to use and use it consistently. I know that we, have daily power-ups and we talk about our CRM every day and we make sure to hold our leads accountable. If not, you're just burning money, right? Like you said earlier, you said if you're gonna use it, if you're gonna pay for it, use it. So for us, we just make sure we're really purposeful with our CRM. What was the other question you asked? Something else too.
It's about what took your business from average to extraordinary, or what was the system that made the biggest impact?
Just models and systems, making sure you're purposeful with your time. She said time blocking. That was one of the biggest things. Atomic Habits. I think somebody brought that book earlier. That's a great, book to read, you guys. Helps you follow systems, models a little bit. I love the book. What else am I missing?
I would say people. People is what changed my world. When I got out of my own way and started, number one, surrounding myself, I like to surround myself with people that are way smarter than me. And number two, hire people that are way smarter than me and what they do, and way more passionate. I think that's what I'm learning too, is in building a business and a scalable business, you have to have people on your team that get just as much joy from building that mission and that vision as you do. As far as real estate agents are concerned and systems, I don't care if you open an Excel spreadsheet and you put dials, contacts, appointments set, appointments held, contracts written, offers accepted, closings. And then just every day, tick, 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 tick. You get to the fifth one, cross it off. It doesn't have to be complicated. Just start tracking. Because then you can start looking at your conversion rates. And you can start to see, are my set to helds at 70 to 80%, which is standard in the industry? Are my held to signs 80%? Because that's what's standard in the industry. Now you know where you need your education. Because your numbers are telling you where you need your education. If you're set to held is not at where it needs to be conversion-wise, then you probably need to go get a little bit of coaching on how to set qualified appointments, right? Because that's most likely what's happening. If your held to sign is not at where it needs to be, now you know you need to go get coaching on how to secure the listing at the appointment. Your numbers will tell you everything. There's a lot of fancy systems. There's a lot of people trying to make money off realtors. Just pick the one you're going to use. And it might be a spreadsheet to start, and that's okay. Your CRM and your leads behind human capital, leads are your number one asset in your business. And as an owner, it is our job to protect our number one asset. So our number one asset is people first, second asset is leads. That's it. And so just start, where are your leads being held accountable, and how do you have your eye on the lead from the moment it comes in to the moment you're working to convert it into its next deal. You have to have your eye on your leads at all times. And I don't care what system you use to do it, as long as the system is going to make you have your eye on the lead the entire time.
And what do they say, learning is earning, are earners, and so make sure you're always learning, which all of you guys are doing that, right? You guys are always trying to improve your business. Just by being here shows that. Just like myself, I didn't come here just to be on the panel. I would have came if I wasn't on the panel, because I want to learn from Brinley and learn from other agents. And so I think that's important, similar to reading, right? Read books, you guys. Readers are leaders, that's what they say. So, the more you read, the more you learn, the more you're gonna earn and the better leader you'll be.
And it's becoming comfortable saying, I don't know, and it's okay to not know.
Audible is brilliant for that too. If folks put you to sleep, just listen to an Audible when you're driving. You and me are big Audible people. So, do you guys have any podcasts that you recommend that anybody in the audience listens to?
Win May Give is one of my favorite podcasts. If you guys haven't watched that or haven't been listening to it, do. It's a great podcast. Win May Give. Win May Give.
W-I-N.
W-I-N. Oh, sorry. What did I say? Oh, okay.
Do you have one for them?
I do. Reid Hoffman, who founded LinkedIn, started one called Scale, and he has all of Airbnb guys and Facebook and Zuckerberg and Cheryl and all of them. when people ask me about what podcasts to read and what books to read, I mean, I have a few regulars, but I'm more about what's my immediate challenge right now that I need to learn from. So when people ask me books or podcasts, I typically say, what's the biggest challenge in your life right now? And that's personally or professionally. And then honestly, you can go Google top books on Amazon for that topic and read the reviews. You'll notice by the reviews, and if they've been a #1 New York bestseller, you know it's a popular book, right? If you were to Google right now, building consistency in my habits, Atomic Habits would come up, Compound Effect would come up, right? So don't read just to read. Don't read just because somebody said, oh, it's a great book. If you want to master money, read the books I recommended on money, right? And if you want to master being a mom, don't ask me. I don't have any kids. I'm just kidding. But if you need that, if you're working to learn balance between being a mom, there's tons of books out there. Follow Sarah Blakely on Instagram and you'll figure out how to do that, right? So I think it's most important is there's so much content out there now. I mean, there's more content than we've ever had in our entire lives, which means there's a lot of noise and a lot of distraction. So find the people that have what you want and find the models and then go follow them and just do what they want, that would do what they did. You don't have to reinvent anything nowadays. Somebody has already done it at a really high level. You just need to go figure out what they did and do it. That's it.
I'm gonna add one to your list. I love listening to podcasts, and I have a lot of favorite ones, but I'm just gonna give you my newest favorite one, because I didn't know he came out with a podcast. It actually just came across my, you should watch this, scroll, but it's the Seth Campbell podcast. He does short little podcasts, they're like 20 minutes. And I love 20-minute ones because that's my drive time. I don't have time to listen to an hour-long podcast. And his are about 20 minutes-ish. And I almost every time want to pull over on the side of the road and write something down because I'm like, I can't forget that. They're so good. I highly recommend this podcast. So, okay, I want to do this really quickly. I am hoping we have some questions in the audience for all of our panelists. So I'm going to take just a second and bring you guys back up here. And I think Chad just ran out. He'll be right back. I want to bring you guys back up here, and we'll grab these chairs for you guys, and you guys can just stay up here.
Can I read something while you're doing that, Andrea?
Yes, please do.
So I'm really passionate about where the market is going, and I study mindset and a lot of stuff, and I wanted to read you guys 2 things really quick. Somebody asked me a couple weeks back, they wrote me and they said, how do you catch this market? And this was my quick response, and then I want to read you what my friend, does anybody listen to Bigger Pockets? David Green?
Yes.
I want to read you what he wrote, because we've already seen, he predicted this a couple weeks ago, and we're already seeing it. So my quick response was, someone asked me this morning, how do I catch this market? How do you catch it? You put your head down and you treat it like a marathon, not a sprint. 4 hours minimum lead gen a day. Stay current with the market and your numbers so that you are the expert. Stay educated in your financing options to help your buyers, and most importantly, don't listen to the negative or fear-based messaging. This can be a land of opportunity if you choose to look at it that way. The entire real estate market is about to go on sale. It's all in how you choose to look at it and the labels and meanings that you choose to be put behind it. In some of the high net worth wealth circles I'm in, they're more excited than they've ever been about a market, right? The good market's there, you just have to find it. And then David wrote this, and I just thought it was genius. I don't have a crystal ball, but here's my projection of the current market. When buyers realize that there are more rate hikes on the way and that the Fed is going to keep on raising rates, you're going to see more of them fly into the market to buy homes. Things are going to slow down for a little bit. We saw this, right? And there's always a shock. When people are shocked, they freeze. But once they see that rates are going to keep going up, they're going to get right back in and start buying again. Are we starting to already see that? Yep. This is not a problem that can be resolved by increasing interest rates. This is only a problem that can be solved by increasing supply. Until I see a lot more homes in the hottest markets being built, more homes than there are for people that want them, and more supply than demand, I don't expect prices to come down. So how can you benefit from this? And then he goes on to go on, and I don't want to take up more time, but if you go to his Instagram page, David Green with an E on the end, you can read the entire post. And he goes on to say we have a supply and demand problem. And you just need to know what your supply and demand is in your market and go chase it. And get back to the fundamentals, which are the 5 things we talked about. It's that simple.
Can I piggyback off that real quick?
Of course.
So, I love numbers and stuff like that. If you couldn't tell, Chad was making fun of me earlier about it, but
pointing out.
whatever. So the shift is happening, guys. There's no black. It's black and white, right? It has happened since April right about there, it changed, right? So January, months of inventory, WBMLS, 1.19 months, okay? If you don't know what months of inventory is, you can chat with me after this and I'll explain it to you. As of July closing, 2.14, that's an 80% increase in inventory. It is a remarkable time for people to be buying. The interest rates aren't gonna change, right? We were chatting about this before this whole event started today, is every time in the last 6 years, we've seen little pockets where it's gone from like maybe 3.5 to 4.25, right? Everybody freezes, they get shocked, they're panicked, they see that it's not going anywhere, they come right back in the market to buy. And it's happening right now, you just have to be in front of it. Don't put your head down, don't get discouraged that things are changing, that has changed. Don't listen to people who are saying it's going to change. No, it's already changed, it's already happened, and it's going to continue to happen. Just don't, it's your time to put the foot on the gas, not the brake. Don't stop.
So, since we're talking about the shifting market, I want to ask this question, and then Eric, can I have you pass this around for questions? Okay, be thinking of your questions, because this is your opportunity to ask any burning questions you've had for the last couple of hours that we've been here. So my question for you is this, to get this started while they're thinking of more questions, is what do you do in your business consistently? So when I say consistently, this is something, when I think of daily, right? Like you create your habits and your habits create your life. So if you're doing something consistently in your business, when we're talking about a shifting market, you honest to goodness really shouldn't be doing anything that much differently, right? Do you hear me? What do I mean by that? You should already be building your skill set. If you haven't, if you're just learning, or if you're an agent that's been in the industry a long time, you've built systems, you've built things that you do consistently that you do well. So what do you have in your business that you're doing really well? And where's an opportunity in your business? Maybe you're not doing something super well that could be a detriment to you in any sort of a shifting market, right? Whether it's this one or one 10 years down the road. What is the skill set? What is the base that you have? What are you doing to increase your skill set? Being here is a good example. So my question to you guys is, what is the consistent thing you have to have in your business to survive any market, no matter what?
Well, for one is mindset, right? There's a good market in any market, you guys. So it doesn't matter what you're in, there's always a good market in any market. So you have to figure out what it is. So one of the things that we do is we do daily power-ups with our team. I have an amazing team too, you guys. I didn't get a chance to say that earlier, but have a wonderful partnership with all of my people. So I did want to say we do daily power-ups, so we do scripts and role play every day. And we also need to make sure we have a temperature on the market as well. So we're talking about numbers, statistics, we know how many months of inventory, we're talking about the shift in days on market, so those are really good conversations so that you know that on a daily basis. I think that's about, one of the most important things is just knowing the market.
So I think obviously, there's the basic things you're already doing, but I think that for me, there are a couple of things that have kind of shifted a little bit just in the last probably the last like 5 to 6 months, as we're starting to kind of see some of these trends rolling out there. One of them is, I talk about kind of taking inventory of kind of where I'm at, and, am I being as, so I'm sending out emails about like market analysis, checking in with people, but am I being as efficient with that time as I could be? I think in the last 4 to 5 years, particularly the last 2 years, if you're like, well, I got a few of those out, I didn't quite get the number that I was hoping to get out today, it was a little bit easier. So I'm really kind of like just reassessing and making sure, hey, am I being as disciplined about this as I need to be? But the big thing for me is that I'm doing a lot of the same activities, reaching out to multiple people a day through text message, phone call, whatever it might be, sitting down, booking times to be in front of people, but my language has changed a little bit. So I'm trying to speak more to the news and the information that they're hearing in a way that I can be that expert that helps calm some of the fears and concerns and helps kind of guide them, through the market that we're in. And so I don't want to listen to the noise and let it impact me, but I want to listen so that I can speak intelligently and accurately to my clients. And so I'm trying to pay a little bit more attention to the language that I use in those face-to-face meetings, in those text messages, in those phone calls, so that, I actually know what I'm talking about. If I just went in there and pretended like nothing had changed, the market's amazing, those people are crazy. It is amazing. They are kind of crazy, but it has changed a little bit, and we need to be the ones that can help push people through that, and language matters in my interactions with my clients.
Okay, so can you guys hear me on this? Ooh, sorry, really loud. Okay, raise your hand if you have a question and we'll get the mic over to you. So just kind of eke it up there. Don't worry, we're not all gonna stare at you, I promise. Raise your hand if you have a question. In the meantime, I do have a question from an agent in the audience that says, did any of you get into real estate while still running another business that you own, or just did you transition into real estate? If so, any tips or advice on how to juggle both until you can financially be fully in real estate?
Can I take this just real quick?
Yeah.
I help a lot of agents do this. Number one is your time. You have to be using time blocking and color code it. Color code it for your day job and color code it for real estate, and then color code it for your family and you. So when you look at your calendar, you see all the pieces are getting an equal piece of you, right? Your family and you are happy, your job is good, your real estate is good. Then come up with your financial plan. And if you need help, there's tons of people in this room that can help you do that. How much money do you need to get out of that job? And let's put the plan together, and how many homes you need to sell, how many appointments you need to set, how many contacts you need to make to get you there. It's that simple.
I worked for the first 2 years as a hospice CNA overnight. So I would do 3 night shifts while still doing real estate full time. And it was so hard, but I told myself, once I have no debt, once I have $100,000 in my bank account, which happened my second year in real estate, I would quit. And it was hard.
I guess, I did have a full-time job before I got into real estate. I stumbled into it. I was doing claims adjusting for an insurance company. Absolutely hated it. I was miserable. That's why I started looking into the actual real estate aspect. Was pretty busy right off the bat. I just had some past bosses and stuff like that had reached out to me, hey, I'm looking to buy or whatever. And trying to juggle working 7 to 4, whatever that was, and then going and showing houses and still having time for my family and everything. It just was not happening, and I was getting way too stressed. And to me, it was just like, thankfully, the gentleman who got me into real estate, when we met, he laid out all his pay stubs to me. He's like, here's what I've made in the last 12 months. So I seen every single deal that he closed for 12 months. So I knew what the potential was. And we worked together multiple times in different sales aspects. So I knew, I was like, if he can do it, I can do it. And so at that point, when I knew I couldn't juggle it, I was just like, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna keep working this full-time job, or am I gonna give real estate a try? And I went and talked to my wife, and I was like, this is what we've gotta do, I think. And she's like, if you think that's what's best, make it happen. Put in my 2-week notice, and that was in May of 16. And from May of 16, the end of May of 16 to the end, I think I closed 18 deals in that 6-month time. And then the rest was history from there. So sometimes you just gotta rip off the Band-Aid and just give it a whirl.
I have nothing.
All right, guys, this is our time for questions. So, I know somebody has a burning question. Oh, I knew it, Ricky. I knew it.
So you guys touched on how you guys don't really, some of you guys have like a schedule, some of you guys don't really have a schedule, but I'm curious how you guys stay organized. So like when you're talking to clients and stuff, oh yeah, I have a meeting next week, or I have a conference next week, or I'm speaking next week. Like, what do you use? Sticky notes? Do you guys use your CRMs? Like, what is like some tips and tricks for like newer people, newer agents out there, just kind of trying to figure it out?
So I think that's gonna be depending on the person, right? So for myself, I'm old school. I have a planner book in my purse. My team hates it, right? They have to grab it, take pictures of it, and input it into Google Calendar. But the reason is I'm driving a lot to and from, and so I can write while I'm driving, not that I should, but it's more effective than being on my phone trying to put it in Google Calendar.
What do you drive to? Stay away.
Anyways, I have found that I was able to stay more focused and make sure I wasn't missing appointments by doing it that way. And I tried switching a few times, it just didn't work. But one thing that is working is there is a task list that you can put on your Google Calendar, and it will sync with your phone. And so I do to-dos. Every night before I go to bed, you guys, because I was having a hard time sleeping, you wake up in the middle of the night and you say, oh my gosh, I gotta do that. When you go to sleep, you forget, right? And then you're like, oh, so you have a horrible night's sleep. One of the things I do is I look at my schedule the night before, and I know what I need to do the next day. So I create a list to say, these are the things that need to happen tomorrow. That has been huge for me. The other thing is I also put a pad of paper next to my bed. I mean, you know, Chelsea can tell you that I'll just write it down. So that way I can go to sleep and know that I'm not gonna forget. But I've noticed that that's worked really well for me. And most people, that probably wouldn't work.
Yeah, I mean, I would say kind of early on, I was pretty similar. I I didn't use a planner. My wife used a planner for a long time. It actually almost led to us not being able to, move together as a couple. Because she'd be like, it's on the calendar. I'm like, it's on the calendar. It's in your purse that I never look at. So it doesn't help us. You need to straight to Google Calendar. But, same concept. I kind of lived and died by the calendar. Like, if I made an appointment, I immediately, I stopped whatever I was doing, and I made sure I got that on the calendar. I made sure that I had, now there's the CRMs are kind of, they're smart, and you could just kind of type something in, all of a sudden it populates where it's supposed to. But early on, I would make sure that I went in and I put the notes, and I put the calendar, I did all those kinds of things. In the last couple of years, one of the things that I've done that's really helped me stay organized is I've released control of my calendar and my email to my assistant. And maybe I should, to my partner, Tracy, so I don't use the word assistant. I'm gonna ask her if she hates her, or hates that. But she, every email, you send me an email, she gets it, just a heads up, okay? So she sees that email, which has helped me be significantly more organized, because it is her job to make sure that I don't completely crash the ship that we're both on right now, right? And so she takes that very seriously, and then giving her control over my calendar. So if people schedule an appointment or if they reach out to her, she knows, so I do have the time blocking for when I can have appointments, and she can schedule it. And so, there are days that I wake up and I'm like, wait a minute, I thought I had this afternoon off, and now I have these 4 appointments. And initially, there's a great book that I'm gonna try to remember the name on that I'll share it with you, but initially I hated that idea. I hated the idea of someone else having control of my calendar, and having control of my email. And now it's the best decision I've made as far as staying organized and staying on task. So when you start to get to that point, don't hire a partner, support staff, an admin, an assistant. Don't hire them and then handcuff them. You bring them on, let them do what you need them to do. That's been a big piece for me.
To add to that, there's 3 stages, right? There's the capture, record, the execute. You gotta capture the information, which is what you were talking about when they call. You gotta record it somewhere. So you just have to find your system to record it. I know people that use the notes in their phone and then have a time block every morning where they go in and they go back to their notes and they get it all in their CRM. So have a system to record it, have a system to capture it, and then you have the system to execute it. So you can't execute unless it goes in the system that you created to record, which in the beginning should just be your calendar and your CRM. And if you know it's in your calendar and your CRM, then you're just making sure anything you put, your description and notes section of your calendar entries in Google Calendar is a savior. You can set John Smith as an appointment, and then in the description put everything about John Smith that you need to know. And then if that converts after that appointment, you move it to all the notes to the CRM. You just have to find what works in your brain.
Those are all great answers. Okay, how much time do we have, Ariel? We got 5 minutes. Okay. Do not leave at the end, because we have some amazing door prizes for you guys, including, where'd Matthew go? $500 gift card in Cutco. So don't leave. Hang on. Okay, any other questions? Yes, right here. Eric's bringing his mic.
I think a lot of new agents are getting the question, how to combat somebody who's saying they're not ready to buy, or they think they're gonna wait until the market cools down. So I think it'd be really great for all of us to hear your response to that question when you're talking to a new lead.
It's a pro more. You gotta find out if somebody's telling you no, they don't want to buy, right? If rates are too high or whatever it is, it's probably not the rates. You gotta dig deeper. You gotta find out really what it is. Dig far enough to know why they're wanting to buy in the first place, and then you can actually figure out the good game plan and strategize with them to get them to that destination. Oftentimes, I know when we get clients to my lending partner, they're like, oh, I can't buy right now because rates are 6% or whatever, right? But he goes so deep and goes back to the beginning, and he backtracks and it's like, okay, what's your ultimate payment goal? This. Okay, so then we gotta go all the way back, and maybe an FHA loan's not the deal. Maybe it's a conventional, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, right? But it's about finding those resources and knowing your part of your job, and then having a good lending partner that you can refer to as well that can do their job, that can just build that structure. Because it's not an easy thing to buy a house, we all know that, right? But you have to just identify what motivates them, what's gonna get them to the finish line. And sure, a 6% interest rate sounds like it sucks, but a lot of people can't afford it, especially if they're in a 2 household income. But it's about finding their motivation and really just pushing to that, in my opinion.
I would say the same thing, yeah, make sure you know what their motivation is, because if they're really not motivated, you can't force them, they're not gonna buy, right? But if there's true motivation there, you can figure out what you can do to create a solution to where they still can buy. So maybe they're not at, 500,000 now with the rates where they currently are, but maybe they can afford 450, right? Or you can buy down the rate, or, there's certain things that you can be doing to try to figure out if there's a solution.
You ask enough questions, you always get to the BS, and that applies to anything in life.
So whenever I meet someone new who says, hey, me and my husband are ready to buy our first house, I ask a few questions. I'll always ask, I'll write back and say, oh my gosh, congratulations, that's such a big step, I'm so excited for you. I just have a few questions for you. So what is the monthly payment that you would like to have that you're comfortable with? If they say $800, probably not the market for them, but if they say, let's say $1,800, okay, do you have a down payment or do you need a down payment assistance program? I feel like asking it that way gives them the grace to say, crap, I don't have any money saved up for a down payment, and then we can start looking into USDA. There really isn't very many down payment programs now that the rates have gone up so high. And then I'll ask, about closing costs, and then what are you paying for your monthly rent right now? And that kind of just gives you information to know whether this is a good market for them or not. But I have one buyer who they've been looking for about 3 years, and the rates have changed drastically, in that time frame. Well, they got a house for $399. They're paying their closing costs with extra. They're paying like $13,000, so a rate buy down. It appraised for $460. So they're getting the monthly payment they wanted, the square feet they wanted, the lot that they wanted for in this bad market or whatever. And then I had another buyer who he was only comfortable paying about $1,200, and we explored the avenue of a duplex. So he lives in one side, rents out the other side, and his monthly payment was where he wanted it to be. So you just kind of have to dig deep and see what you could do to help them.
So we have a list of pre-qualification questions or just questions that you can ask buyers to dig deeper. If you guys would be interested in that, maybe raise your hand real quick just so I can get a feel for how many people would like that list. Okay, so if you were registered on the Eventbrite link, we will just email that out to everybody. If you are not registered on the Eventbrite link and you came as a guest or something like that with someone, just make sure that we have your contact information. Furiel, will you raise your hand back there and wave at everybody? Make sure that Furiel has your contact info and we'll get that list out to you.
I would also just add to that, you can't assume anything right now, nothing. I have an agent that I coach out of North Carolina, and I said, just go call your past clients. And she goes, what do you mean past, like 5 years? No, call the client you sold to in the last year. And she called one she had sold a lake house to a year ago, and he said, funny you called today, my wife and I were just talking about how we might want to make money on this property and then wait until the market corrects a little bit and buy our next one. And she literally went like she had a listing agreement signed within 24 hours on a home she had just sold a year ago. Just because she made that one call where if we had not talked about it, she was like, oh, they're settled. It was a second home. Why would they sell it so quickly? You can't assume anything right now. You have to become an expert in wealth and their portfolio and know what their assets are or what their future looks like, whether they're a first-time home buyer or they own 5 investment properties, right? You have to be having a conversation continually.
One of the other things that's nice right now is that buyers aren't in multiple offer situations like they were either. And so you have to spin that for them and say, hey, right now there's a lot more opportunity for buyers to get sellers to help contribute towards closing fees or buying down rates. So there's a lot more, options for buyers right now. So it's actually a little better time for them than what it was probably a month ago.
All right, guys, so we're going to start wrapping up, and I would love for everybody to stay on here for just 1 second. I want to do a couple drawings. Furiel, do we have, I have this right here. Do you have the door prizes with you? Okay, first what I'm going to do though, Matthew, wave at everybody, say hi. The first one we're going to do really quickly is the $500 gift card for Cutco. If you guys do not know what Cutco is, does anybody not know what Cutco is? You? Okay, no worries. So, you guys, Cutco has the finest cutlery in the world, let's just be honest. And they make amazing closing kits for just gifts for your clients and things like that. Matthew, do you want to give me a 60-second shout out of Cutco?
Yeah, sure, yeah, of course.
Pull out your orange tickets. Be
Yes.
ready.
This is the $500 business card right here. So, yeah, so Cutco has been around for a long time, since the 1940s. It's American made, who likes American made? Awesome, yeah, always has been, always will. And it is the world's finest cutlery because it holds better edge than anything out there, so the Germans and Japanese are blushing a little bit. And they brand beautifully with your information. Now we can personalize it, if you'd like, to the recipient, to the home buyer or seller, or to your VIP referral partner. So in a nutshell, it's a gift you can give anyone that is important to keep top mind with for the rest of their lives, and needs to repeat a referral business, and it's 100% legal tax write-off under marketing, so you can kiss that 1954 IRS $25 deduction by, write it all off. So system in place, that's the last thing I'll say, and great job everyone, you guys are awesome. I really appreciate being here, I took notes.
Yes, lots of notes.
Yeah, good
Okay, are you guys ready? Here we go, we're reading the numbers. Dun, dun, dun. I need somebody to do me a drum roll. I can't do a drum roll. There we go. Okay, drum roll please. 8, 9, 5, 0, 1, 0, 5. Who is it?
Oh, no way.
Oh, must be present to win. You better look. Okay, I'm gonna pull again. Really? Oh my goodness. Okay, here we go. Check your numbers quick before I read again.
I hope they get that appointment. It was the last time I forgot.
I know. Here we go. 8, 9, 5, 0, 1, 3, 3.
You're kidding.
No way.
No way. What is going on here?
No? Okay, I'm just gonna keep going. Somebody better scream it out when they did it. Okay, 8, 9, 5, 0, 0, 9, 5. Oh, there's lots of, oh. What the heck?
Did you do this right?
Did you really lose your tickets? I know, no, keep going. Till it's my number. That's right, we are building a lot of suspense. Okay, 895 01 11.
Oh.
Congratulations. Okay, we got one more really quickly. Actually, before I give this one away, Carlton, where are you at? Thank you. Okay, will you give me your 60-second? Why should every real estate agent use you for inspections?
Yeah, we have a huge territory, like we talked about earlier. From the coast, sweet home. Salem to Roseburg, we have dedicated office staff, so booking's super easy. We print our reports on site, so everything's really fast and efficient. And we're all bearded, so that's all. Coolest beard in the biz.
That's the real reason. Okay, keep your tickets. We have another good bottle of wine up here. Okay, ready? It is 895 01 10. Oh, yeah. That's the road.
Y'all should go buy lottery tickets.
Yeah. Awesome. We will. I'm gonna hand this. I don't feel like I should throw that, so that might be bad. All right. Where's my Christina? Oh, yeah. Oh, we have another one. Hang on. Oh, we have more. We have more gifts. Okay, hang on. I'm doing this fast. Christina, where are you at? Oh, yeah. I'm here. Stand up. Okay. Flip the hair. Thank you. Okay. And tell us in 60 seconds your, like, real lending passion. Let's do that.
I think our passion is for people. I mean, we just absolutely love our clients. I've been blessed enough to be in the industry for 27 years. I started when I was 12, obviously. So, and I've had the pleasure of building a world-class team. In fact, a couple of them are here. Erica Floro, the hot girl in the dress. She's please stand up. And this is Matt Holland. These are two of my teammates. They are epic, world-class, incredible, and they love on the client and blow my mind. They're smarter than me, better than me, faster than me, younger, all the things you need to be. So I think it's been our pleasure to be in this community and to love on this community and be a I keep going out and talking, people are like, oh, you're kidding, so everyone's referring out all over the country, so, and we have more than 2 states, I think on our team we're licensed in 8 states now.
8, but I think we're almost to 50.
As a company, we
As a
are,
company.
yeah, we're a national boutique now, so we're across the entire country, so, yeah, it's been great to be here, thank you guys for the response. Thank you, Andrea.
Can we please give a round of applause for the all the house sponsors for events, because you guys, I mean, having sponsors is what makes these events happen. And I mean, we couldn't do it without sponsors, and it makes it fun. Let's get real. When you have sponsors and you do fun things and fun drawings, it makes it super fun. So we have a couple more winners up here. We did a business card drawing, and Steve Hummer, which I think he just stepped out. I will have to give him a call. Was it that one?
Or I can bring you cards.
I mean, you have to be present to win. I feel like that's how we just did it. So, and then we also have Halsey Mooney just won a Homegrown Oregon gift card. There we go. Another business card. Here we go. Last one.
Is this a mortgage company?
Yes.
Okay, can I just tell you guys right now, if you don't have a mortgage person in your back pocket right now as your best friend, and you are treating like a king or queen, you should, because they are your biggest tool with buyers right now. You should speak. No, I'm dead serious. You've got to become, we're not asking you to become lenders, but you got to know enough to be able to educate your buyer on what's out there. If you don't know what ARMs are right now, you need to know what they are. Have them come and talk to your teams. Have them educate your agents. They've got the information. Put them on a call once a month. Check in. What do I need to know that's out there? What do I need to be telling my buyers? Have them in your back pocket. They want to do it.
Great. Can you just roll right into your Realty Leverage and talk for a minute about your company?
I know my team will kill me if I don't do this. So basically, we created a space where you can get any type of leverage you want. So we can service all 50 states. We do transaction management, which means we take everything from time of listing agreement all the way to close. Basically, we tell you what to do, and when we need you, and you go do your 5 things. We take care of everything else. They're all licensed. Combined, I think we have over 250 years in the business. And then we also do some project management, database management, marketing, and then we do recruiting. So we'll help find any position in a team or brokerage. And then we also do training. So we do their first 90 days of onboarding, and then there's guarantees built in that we have to let them go because they didn't show up like we thought they were going to, and all of that. So we have some flyers out on the table, and then I'll be available for questions after.
Thank you. Okay, last one went to Chad Harvey, which makes it really easy since he's sitting right here. Okay, your business card, Erica.
Oh my God.
Okay, well, she's writing your business card. This is the final thing, and then we are wrapping up. And if you guys have time to stay for questions, that would be amazing. If not, we totally understand as well. I really appreciate everybody being here and investing in your skill base and increasing your knowledge and personal growth. This is one of my favorite things. Like, this is legitimately one of my favorite things. And I love getting to do these things. We have another one coming up, a business planning workshop, which will be October 18th at the Lynn County Fairgrounds. There is a QR code behind me that will allow you, I believe, to sign up for those. It's through Eventbrite still. It'll be a similar format to this, but we will have tables set up, and it will actually be a workshop format, okay, for business planning for 2023. So these are quarterly events that we put on, and I would love to see all of you guys again. And Shannon Underwood, where are you at?
There she is.
All right, you guys, we are going to wrap up. Did I forget anything? No, nobody's screaming at me. Okay, I didn't forget anything. Thank you for being here, and we will see you guys at the next one.